We have this cut from Glenn Greenwald, which John got for us.
The
Here
last
you go,
liberal.
brother.
The last liberal.
The last liberal. True liberal.
How she treated them.
Against the climate crisis, and he intends to end the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking.
He's speaking. And there is this passage in the novel.
So you all heard, before he goes talk, you all heard her try to dress down a group of people who were, protesting in the crowd.
Animal Farm, written by George Orwell in the mid-20th century, that essentially, for those of you who don't know, is a parody of how tyranny and authoritarianism functions. And the basic story is that the novel begins when there's a farmer who rules over the animals on the farm, including pigs, treats them very poorly with a lot of repression. And several of the pigs convince the other pigs and the other animals to overthrow that farmer and promise that once they do so, they will all be treated well, they'll all be treated equally. And instead what happens is these leftist anti-war protesters who are Arab and Muslim to F off, basically, to shut their mouths because she's speaking some functions.
You jumped out.
The basic story is that the novel begins when there's a farmer who rules over the animals on the farm, including pigs, treats them very poorly with a lot of repression. And several of the pigs convince the other pigs and the other animals to overthrow that farmer and promise that once they do so, they will all be treated well, they'll all be treated equally. And instead what happens is the pigs start to take on the exact same behaviors as the farmer. They start sleeping in human beds, they start eating food that the rest of the pigs don't eat. It's an obvious metaphor for how tyranny works and how promises of equality are exploited in order to empower the leaders who promise them. And in the novel, once the pigs took over, everybody was very happy at first, and then they started to notice that the pigs in charge, including the pig named Napoleon, who was the leader of the revolution, who took over and began running things once they drove Farmer Jones away, and his second in command, Squealer, they started noticing that they have all these privileges that most pigs don't have. They get to eat all this fine food. They even started wearing clothes, sleeping in beds with pillows and blankets, while the pigs just continued to exist how they were. And as a result, the pigs started getting agitated about that. They started saying, wait a minute, why is this going on? Why do you get these privileges and we don't? And so in the novel, Squealer, who was the second in command to Napoleon of this new leadership, stood up and tried to address them about why it is that they should stop with their complaints. And this is what the book said, quote, "Day and night, we are watching over your welfare. It is for your sake that we drink the milk and eat those apples. Do you know what would happen if we pigs failed in our duty? Farmer Jones would come back. Yes, Jones would come back. Surely, comrades," cried Squealer almost pleadingly, skipping from side to side and whisking his tail, "surely there is no one among you who wants to see Farmer Jones come back." Now, if there was one thing that the animals were completely certain of, it was that they did not want Farmer Jones back. When it was put to them in this light, they had no more to say. I mean, it is remarkable how perfectly that tracks what Kamala Harris did in response to those Palestinian protesters, where she was saying, look, I know you're agitated, but the only thing you need to know is that if you continue to question me, Farmer Jones is going to come back. That bad man, Farmer Jones, Donald Trump, is going to come back. And then the crowd just went wild. It's like, yeah, we don't need to hear anything from you, Kamala, about your views. All we need to know is that if you don't win and we don't cheer from you, Farmer Jones is going to come back. It's almost verbatim. Obviously, Kamala Harris wasn't thinking about this. She doesn't. She's not using Animal Farm as a instruction manual. The reason it tracked so perfectly was because Orwell had observed how authoritarian and tyrannical leaders behave, what their mentality is, how they try and appease a restless mob that starts to notice their corruption. And they do so by telling them that if they don't stop questioning the leadership, something worse or somebody worse is going to come back. And that's exactly all the Democrats are running on. If you don't just submit to us, get in line, shut up, Farmer Jones will come back. Now,
So, brother, I do think I would say this. Maybe I thought he was going to say because she's just not smart enough to have ever read. She probably doesn't even know what Animal Farm is.
That's true.
Honestly,
That is
that's what I
true.
thought he was going to say. I honestly thought that.
No, but it's true. But he's exactly right. There's nothing new under the sun. This is the same old evil. And
Yep.
and George Orwell was brilliant when he described it. And what this is the bigger theme. The reason why we're pulling it for today is because this is what's going to happen over the next 75 days. There is no theme other than this. This is the entire Democrat Party theme. Bad man, come back. It's they've invested a good 8 years now in a Trump derangement syndrome, right? And even one of the polls, I saw one of the polls, where one of the polls these are fake polls, obviously. Nobody really knows because there's so much chaos right now, but these are fake polls.
Right.
And in the fake poll, some lady said, who was now going to be voting for Kamala, a squealer Kamala. That's perfect too, because she's the second banana, right? And she's agitated her hands, right? And so character matters, right? And you go, wait a minute. Well, what about the character of this person who says everything, who will say anything to get elected in any position, right? What about the character of Tim Walz, right? Well, some character matters and some character doesn't matter. Just like in George Orwell, some pigs are more equal than others, right? And this is what you're going to see. The Trump derangement syndrome again. So now this week, Chris Stigall, a great program. I love Chris Stigall's show. He had on, and I swear to God, I mean, he had on this nitwit, Naomi Wolf. I can't stand this person. I mean, this is the feminist. She's Jewish and she's got 3 kids now. So now she was on the right side of the vax. And so now some conservatives, because conservatives, whether it's Mark Stein or Steven Seagal, it's like they're like whipped stepchildren, right? Any type of attention from mommy, and they're like fawning all over. I said, this is a nitwit who's never announced her evil things that she did. Now, back in the day when she was young and mildly attractive and had a mildly large bust that would make her attractive, right? She did nothing but spew leftist nonsense and did a lot to help leftist nonsense take the hold that it has. Has she ever come back and said, oh, I guess I was wrong? No, right? So they're listening to this idiot, and this idiot goes, Trump has to stop saying the mean things, and Trump has to go back to policy. And that can't be any more wrong unless she was a Democrat plant. I don't think she's doing it deliberately. I think Dr. Wolf is a nitwit. She's a virtuous female, and she's always been a virtuous female. And she's just continuing to be a virtuous female. Because basically what they've been successful to do to Trump is the female character assassination. I'm attorney. I'm listening to this girl, this lady telling me about this case. Oh, this man is so bad. He's so evil. My daughter 3 years ago has to close the curtains in her room. She's afraid to come outside. She's afraid to live in the house. All this stuff. And at some point you gotta go, stop it. You're talking about a driveway dispute. It's a property dispute. Knock it off, right? It's the female character assassination, right? And this is what's been effectively applied to Donald Trump, and it's what is going to be effectively applied over the next 90 days. And they're going to go back to it again, and you see it again. Whereas right now, this is the other end of it. Kamala, this famously, she's doing the Barack Obama imitation. I'm a
Southern
prosecutor,
accent, right?
Right? What?
Her Southern accent, is that the
No, not that one. She's doing. I've been a prosecutor. I've prosecuted child abusers. I've prosecuted fraud. I know how to handle.
She's from a border state, John. Come on, give her a break.
Right.
She's from a border state.
I know how to handle men like Donald Trump, right? And now the answer back is, on your knees. When Donald Trump brings up the point about how's Chairman Xi or Putin are going to deal with her, well, he's bringing up a real fact that nobody will talk about, but I will, because I've raised virtuous daughters, and I tell my virtuous daughters I want them to be Maggie Thatcher and not a virtuous creep like this person, right? And I actually got yelled at by a DA one time when I was beating up on a DA. He's like, "What would you?" Because I have a DA daughter. How would you? You have a daughter. How you're treating her that bad? how dare you, and I yell back at him, how do you think my daughter got the way she is so she's not doing those crazy things, right?